Good evening and welcome to Chlorine Callaloo. This is our second edition of Chlorine Callaloo right here on Trinbago Freestyles. It's a production of TrinbagoFreestyles.com. Today we have a very special edition where we will be honoring Mr. Ralph Linky Yearwood, who is a pioneer in the sport. But before we get into the meat of the matter when it comes to Mr. Linky, we still are in the middle of a pandemic, hopefully on the downside of it. And in order to make sure that we can reopen safely, we have brought on Dr. Visham Bhimull, who will help us or guide us along the way as to how we ought to navigate our facilities, etc., when it comes to COVID-19.
Right.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with Dr. Bhimull. Actually, he's here already. Good evening, Dr. Bhimull.
Hi, good evening, and thanks for the opportunity.
Sure. So, Dr. Visham Bhimull, he is a public health and family physician. Dr. Bhimull, good evening.
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers.
All right. So, some of our businesses are starting to reopen. A lot of the businesses have started to reopen. Can you guide us as to what phase we are in at this point in time?
And I'd like to welcome the opportunity because we just getting general guidelines from government to the press conferences, but it's not trickling down in a pragmatic way. For instance, you focusing on public aquatic venues like pools and so. So the same general guidelines would apply to an aquatic venue, but it will be specific to the goings on at the venue, right? I just want to highlight the press conference was a few days ago. So the prime minister had said we moving back another phase. So we into phase 4 right now. And phase 4 is basically anesthetists, barbers, and domestic workers can basically go out. And then, as WHO guidelines would have stated, well, you when you're in a new phase, you observe for 2 weeks, see what the end result is with testing, and then you decide if you want to roll back again, right? Which is what the current administration is doing. Um, the whole premise behind it, and people don't see that, is all the phases just really based on social distancing. So some social distancing practices are kept and others are altered, right? And that is within the context of the aquatic center, an aquatic venue, right? Um, Now, my guidelines come from CDC and WHO, so that's my reference. So any of your viewers could go to their site, which is who.org and I think cdc.org. So it's the guidelines which our administration would take would be from there. So it looks at city and county pools. So like I could imagine this pool in Siparia falls under that. Apartment complexes, membership clubs. So gyms have pools as well, right? Schools, water parks, and people who privately own pools, right? It comes under that. Um, uh, it, I mentioned gyms. So remember, we prior to this we had a conversation. Well, how would a pool fall with regard to a facility, and which part of the phase it could be reintroduced? I mean, and it will be just like a gym. Now, if you realize, I think from the June 12th, Friday, June 12th, the first facility that allows gathering to some extent, which is the churches and the temples and the mosques and so places of worship, they are reopening, but they are reopening with stipulations of social distances. Like the pews have to be a certain distance, everybody has to wear a face mask, right? Within the church itself, or within the mandir or the mosque, people can't be close to each other, so you still have to observe the 6 feet apart. thing, and that would also apply to the aquatic venue, right? But remember, all of these must stick within our context of something being feasible, practical, and acceptable, right? Something
Right.
that, yeah. Um, the first point I want to bring out is behavior of health hygiene, behavior which is comes under health hygiene. So you see the same list you had: wash your hands regularly, um, wear a face mask, stay at home, that still applies, right?
Right.
So when you go to the facility, like usually a pool, you'd have to wash yourself off, which is usually a regular part because a pool is a place where infection could be spread very easily, fungal and bacterial and viral. Um,
Mm.
so it's advisable, yes, as well as to regularly wash your hands as well when you go around the facility, right? Um, the other thing is to wear face mask. Now you're wearing face mask on entry to the aquatic venue.
Right.
So when you have to go to your changing room, you observe your distancing and so on. We'll go into that in a little bit regarding the distancing. Um, if you go into the water, however, you can't wear the face
Mm.
mask. Reason being, it actually poses
Correct.
a risk as opposed to a protection or benefit because you can't breathe through a wet face mask. It also is a nidus for infection, right?
Right.
Actually, the advisable thing is once your face mask is damp on usage, you should change it. Um, so
Right.
that's one thing. And then stay at home. Not stay at home not only for staff members, for people who use the pool as well. If they think
Mm.
they have flu-like symptoms, which may or may not be COVID-19, they should stay away. If they have tested positive for COVID, or if they would have knowingly been in contact with somebody who has COVID-19, they should observe the quarantine process and not come out into a place like aquatic center, right? Aquatic
Right.
venue. Um, Looking at the supplies with regard to hygiene. Now, this wouldn't apply to the pool, but I mean, we're talking about the pool. You should walk around with a bag with stuff to maintain good hygiene. So, whether it be soap, a hand sanitizer, towels to wipe off after, um, and then facilities should provide non-touch bins, right?
Okay.
That's very important. Now, remember, we talk about washing hands regularly, wearing on the face mask, and about good hygiene practices. Those should be
Mm-hmm.
well put on signs in convenient places where people could see, right?
Right.
As well as if you could do broadcasts, or even if you could have like a TV screen. Sometimes the gym would have that, where you'd have
Right.
it running, right? Maintaining a healthy environment.
Mm-hmm.
The pool management itself should focus on cleaning and disinfecting high touch areas,
Right.
right? They should contract a company that has engineering for a setting of a pool so that whatever infrastructure needs to be put in place before they open needs to be sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
Labeling of equipment is very important. At pools, you would have things people would use in the pool itself. But once
Right.
somebody uses it, it should be labeled as this has to be clean and disinfected before somebody else uses it, right? That's quite important. Laundry within the facility itself, towels should be, again, clean and sanitized. Appropriate warm water should be used and it should be dried appropriately. The equipment you have at the pool should be sufficient. You don't want the more you can limit people sharing equipment, the better, because that
Right.
reduces infection. So you could do that in two ways. You could buy more. If you can't afford it, you limit how much people use the facility at the time. So you have to have sort of a scheduling, right? The signage should also include lines, whether it be to go to the bathroom, whether it be to go to wash off, to go into the pool. In the pool itself,
Mm.
so you have designated markers so people know exactly the distance they are from each other. You see it in supermarkets, or you see it in line in the bank. They have these markers to show you how far to stand up from the other person. That should also be very important. Communal spaces, that means spaces where people will be in interaction, should be cleaned and disinfected regularly. And I said discourage sharing as much as you could, right? Maintaining a healthy operation is also important. Remember, just health and safety officers in any field at this point in time would have to be updated on what are the new protocols for the COVID-19, more so than ever. And is new information. Because remember, yes, we might have the flu and we would have had it before, but because of the mortality and morbidity rate of COVID-19, we have to be a little more vigilant. So that would include protecting vulnerable staff. So you might have staff over 60 with health conditions also. You want to minimize them interacting with other people. So you would have to isolate them to be working in an area where there's minimal gathering. Lifeguards should be available and water safety should always be observed. Um, I just checking my notes here.
But Dr. Bhimull, while you're checking your notes, while you're checking your notes, we have like 1 more minute. So give us that one last minute of information.
Sure.
We might
So
have
essentially, you're training your staff. You're training your staff to be able to identify a situation with COVID-19 and know how to deal with it. So apart from health and safety, everybody should be prepared for that. And you should know when to isolate, transport, notify, and clean and disinfect if you identify a case of COVID-19 in a aquatic venue.
All right, Dr. Bhimull, thank you very much for your time. The information was very helpful and provided some guidance to the different facility users and the operators so that we can safely open and navigate through COVID-19. So we can open on the 22nd. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, 2022 is when, just like gyms, pools and aquatic venues can reopen from that.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, Dr. Bhimull. Keep in touch.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity.
All right. So that was Dr. Visham, I'm christening the guy, Dr. Visham Bhimull. He's a public health physician and he provided us some guidance going into COVID-19. So we're getting ready to proceed with the other part of the program where we start to honor Mr. Ralph Linky Yearwood.
The family of Ralph Linky Yearwood, as I would call him, Uncle Linky, to all those who mourn his loss, and of course through COVID did not get the opportunity to say goodbye to him. I also benefited from Uncle Linky's coaching my children, Rebecca and Michelle, and even the Distinguished Swim Club. I want to express sincerest gratitude to him, posthumously of course, for him being such a kind person, wonderful teacher, a good coach, and a person who always had developmental swimming in the back of his mind. I also want to take this opportunity to pray as today we would lead a memorial service. Let us pray. Eternal Father and God, we give thanks and we give praise to you for your goodness and for your mercies and for the kindness that you have extended to us through Jesus Christ. We are expressing gratitude that you would have lent unto us Uncle Linky, dedicated coach, and somebody who would have contributed significantly to the discipline of swimming in Trinidad. There are many benefactors who benefit from his life, from his love, from his patience. And so we want to thank you. We want to thank you for his wife. We want to thank you for his wife. We want to thank you for his family. For all those who have even lent him to us when he dedicated such time to the whole swimming fraternity to Trinidad and swimming wherever he would have been. Bless today's proceedings as we remember his memory. Bless today's proceedings in Jesus' name. Amen.
I'm a licensed psychologist with Mendoza Coaching and Consulting. Today, I wish to share my sincere condolences to the friends and family of Ralph Linky. He was a swimming instructor who passed away. How I know. During this, we have experienced various levels of grief. And I need you to allow yourself during this time. Please acknowledge. Accept the fact that grief can be triggered by so many different things. And you're going to experience a lot of unexpected Give yourself some slack. And
understand
understand
that
that
the grieving
the
process
process
is going to be unique for you than for anybody else. It's never the same for each and every individual.
So please,
So please, if you need to,
seek
seek
out
out
some
some
face-to-face
face-to-face
help
help
from your
from your
friends,
friends,
some
Kadeja
support
already
from
here.
your family.
Yeah.
And if you need
and if you
further
need
professional
further
assistance,
professional
seek out
assistance,
the
seek
assistance
out
and
the
support
support
for a therapist or a
therapist or
psychologist
a
like myself.
psychologist like
Support yourself
support yourself
emotionally as well as making
as
sure you
well as
take care of yourself physically.
physically.
Grief is very
Grief
different
is
from
very
depression, and
different
in
from
order for you to
depression. In order for you
recognize the
to
differences
recognize
between
the
those two, you
differences
may need some
between
assistance sometimes.
some
So please do not hesitate to reach out and get the help that you need.
help.
This video is
This
courtesy
video
of
is courtesy
Mendoza
of
Coaching and Consulting Limited.
consulting
I want you to know that we are here to give you a helping hand and to provide you
and
the
to
support
provide
that
you
you
the
need.
support.
Please don't hesitate to
Please
reach
don't
out.
hesitate to reach out.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
So, good evening again, and welcome to Chlorine Callaloo. And we enter a segment called Flashback Freestyles. But we have a special edition of Flashback Freestyles. This time we would like to welcome Kadeja Phillip-Stewart. Good evening, Kadeja. Hi, Kadeja. Good evening, Kadeja. Kadeja. Good evening, Kadeja.
Hello?
Hi, you hear me? Kadeja? All right, so we seem to have lost Kadeja in the meantime, but Kadeja is a former national swimmer, former national record holder. I'm seeing her getting up here now. Good evening, Kadeja.
Hi, good night.
All right. So this is Kadeja Phillip. You would have known her as Kadeja Phillip, but if you check on the screen, she's now Kadeja Phillip-Stewart.
Hi.
So one of the reasons I invited you, especially because I can remember Silver Fins Aquatics and Kadeja Phillip and Linky Yearwood. You understand? What role did Linky play in your development as an athlete and as a person?
He played a very important role, one such as a foundation.
Right.
Swimming, he was the start. He focused mainly on my techniques. It then later became a development in school because you focus there. So it was an all-round thing. And I remember just looking back, he was very much involved and very much passionate in everything that he did. Your foundation.
Yeah, I remember he gave you that foundation, but one thing I remembered, I know he was more concerned with development, and he didn't really have a competitive swim club until Silver Fins.
Yeah.
And Silver Fins, there was another swimmer I remember consisted of Miko Cruz and yourself, but you all were persons that he carried to the meets, etc. How did you feel about his commitment to you all, despite the fact that competitive swimming wasn't really his main thing?
Although it wasn't his main, that was it was something, a moment that you can't explain because he was really dedicated to go against something that is not your norm, and then to be all about it, and then it showed with each one of us because it was like a personal development. It was really good.
All right, and I know you eventually had to move off from Silver Fins to another club.
Yeah.
How was Linky with that?
How was Linky with that?
Yeah, that move. When
It
he,
was hard. It was hard. It was emotional, because you grew that attachment. It was hard, but at the end of the day, he wanted the best. He wanted the best for our development. He wanted the best for our future. So it was a bittersweet moment.
all right, and tell us something about Kadeja now. I mean, we know in the water you could have swum almost actually every stroke, probably different distances in each stroke.
Yeah.
But when last Kadeja went in a pool?
When last Kadeja went in a pool, I would say I went last December.
I mean, to swim, not to bathe.
I went to the pool last December. Yeah.
All right, and I understand you're a mom now.
Yes. Up
And I
to 3 years
understand,
old.
and a 3-year-old daughter.
Was that? Yes, baby girl. Kadeja.
And I understand she may be as sassy as you are.
Yes, very much so.
Very well, Kadeja. What message would you want to send to young athletes who are in the sport now?
I would definitely have to say stay committed, stay focused, and stay driven. Even though there may be a lot of challenges facing you, everyday challenges, things that you don't know where it come from, you just have to stay focused and stay committed to your passion and to your dreams. Right? Let nothing hinder you.
And let me ask you a little harder question. I mean, you would have probably experienced different coaches, even on national teams or whatever. Hard question. What separated Linky from all the rest?
Ah, Jesus. You get me?
But that's the intention. That's where it's supposed to hit. What separated him?
What's that?
What separated him from the rest?
I would have to say, honestly, it was a way more connection. I want to say like a father daughter, that type of connection, that type of bond, because it was a all round.
Because he cared about people.
Exactly.
You also.
That's what I'm trying to get at. He did not
Yeah, really. Don't worry.
sport, and he did not care about. Yes, it was a big part to play in the development, his sport and his contribution to it, but it was just way more personal, because Mr. Linky found me when I went in St. Gabriel's PE school,
Right.
and in order to go ahead to do PE, you had to do good in school. Well,
Right.
but you know what I'm trying to say. So it was an all-round development, and that's what separated him.
Right. So he cared about development, not just in the pool, but outside of the pool.
Yes.
Kadeja, so when you're returning, I hear you returning to competition soon.
I don't know.
No comment. No comment. No comment. That's the answer. No comment. Kadeja Phillip.
I guess appearance.
You like that. Kadeja Phillip-Stewart, I'd like to thank you very much. I know it was a short time, but this program is a very special program. Any parting words?
Yes, I'd like to say thank you as well. It means a lot that I could share this bit of contribution on him, because he was a real great person and a great contribution to the Swimming Association. So thank you as well.
Thank you, Kadeja. So that was Kadeja Phillip-Stewart.
Bye.
Wave. Kadeja Phillip-Stewart, former national swimmer. I mean, I know we didn't go into the details about her performances, etc., but we know that the focus tonight is on Linky, and we thank her for taking the time to come out and speak with us. But up next, we have our coach's conscience.
Given the time of a very fast 200 freestyle to go through my segment, so I'll be abrupt. Firstly, I would like to truly and sincerely send condolences from the swimming world to the Yearwood family. I personally was never afforded the opportunity to swim under Linky. However, I saw him for many years, the relationship. I mean, I saw Kadeja with him and many other swimmers he had under his watch. And he is the epitome of what I want to get into this evening, right? So sincerest condolences to his family and all loved ones and well-wishers. Firstly, I mean, we saw Kadeja discuss, she mentioned two things a lot when speaking just now. She mentioned development and all-around attributes of Mr. Yearwood. And a coach, a teacher in my eyes, is someone who imparts knowledge. A coach is someone who also teaches, but he or she looks for the holistic development of the child, right? Or anybody they are coaching. I believe conscience is subjective because no one can tell you what you should consider right versus wrong. However, as a coach, you're answerable to the child, the parents, the club, yourself. So at the end of the day, it is a lot coming down on you, but I think we all know inherently what is right versus wrong. So I just want to touch on a couple of things that I see as very important as a coach. I don't believe there's one coaching style, but I believe there are certain key qualities that you would see in very effective coaches all around. I think as a coach, we should begin with the end in mind. Me personally, I represented Trinidad as a swimmer. And after my stint in swimming, I realized even though breaststroke was my stroke, I could not breathe in breaststroke. So I get tired very quickly. And I mean, as a coach, my coach never spoke to me and sat down and we discussed certain fundamentals that you would think somebody in competitive swimming at a decent speed would know how to breathe. And I think we need, as coaches, to not be afraid to go back to learn to swim an elementary. It is very important, right? I was not breathing very much, so I would not exhale in the water. So when I come up to swim in breaststroke, I would exhale and inhale. I learned this after my swimming career ended. And I think as a coach, we need to look out for these things that many people consider minor. And these things are very important, and we need to not be afraid to go back to elementary. You need to realize that your charges, your swimmers, are more than just swimmers. They have lives. Their school sometimes is pressure. At home, they're under pressure. Sometimes they need to come. Granted, you have goals for them. Sometimes they need, believe it or not, you are a lot of their mentors. All right? And believe it or not, these children look up to you, look up to us. And our whole body language, the way we carry about in front of them, our demands of them, we need to sometimes sit back and realize, as they discussed mental health last week, we need to realize that these are children. They will blossom, not necessarily at the rate we intend for them or the parents, but communication. Keep lines of communication open with your parents, with your children. Explain to them. I remember whenever swim meet comes up, breaststroke time, that was my stroke, I was nervous. When it's butterfly, I laughing like Usain Bolt, I wrong playing. But breaststroke time, I would just be nervous because I know, all right, this is my chance. I can lose this. Butterfly, oh gosh. Initially, I was the one getting the applause. And we all know in swimming, you get the applause when you're catching your tail to finish your race. I represented some butterfly in character. So mental health issues are serious. I remember last week, Samantha Rahel, she mentioned have fun while doing it. Swimming, before and after it all, is supposed to be fun. Our dropout rate in swimming is too high in this country. I believe we could offer a standard. I mean, we don't have the technology like other countries, but we could offer elite standard. However, we need to keep our charges active above 13 to 14 years old, right? They often fall off because we place a lot of demands. Personally, I stopped swimming in 15 to 17 early, I believe, yeah. Because it was 5 to 7 in the morning, then school, then back to swimming in the evening. And then if I go to swimming and swimming is no fun, what is my life? Everything is just demanding, right? So in all, I mean, I think we are knowledgeable in our country. I believe we have a good product. I just believe we need to be able to let our conscience guide us, not be guided by our mood on the day, by parents. Parents, I note as parents online here. Communicate with the coaches. A lot of times, you just need to know why they make certain decisions. We have a conscience. We have your charges, your children's best interest at heart, right? Let's open the communication. Coaches, let's let our better conscience be our guide and not our mood on the day. I thank you all for having me. Pleasant evening.
Right. So welcome back to Jay's Justice. I realized I was talking to myself. This first one here is especially about Ralph Linky Yearwood. I would like to say that I would remember back in the day when, with the Amateur Swimming Association, I was running for, I believe it was either the PRO or the Assistant Secretary. And Ralph Linky Yearwood, he came to me and he said, Jason, you are supposed to be the first vice president of the association. And I told him, are you crazy? I said, I did not think I had what it took to do that position. And I didn't believe in myself at that point in time, but he believed in me. And I will never forget in 2013, when I ran for president of the association, I personally did not invite Ralph Linky Yearwood to I had a little launch. I didn't invite Mr. Yearwood, but he was there, and he was there in his wheelchair, and he came out to support, because once he saw something that he thought was positive for swimming, he didn't hesitate to support. It didn't require money, he didn't require anything. He was there for people. Once he saw hope, once he saw promise, he would invest his time and energy. Always selfless, and he could have called on him on any time. And we really have lost a gem, and it is up to us by our actions to ensure that the best way to honor his memory is by being better persons. The best way to honor his memory is to treat each other with respect. The best way to honor his memory is just to be human and to be human. And that's what Linky was. He was a people person. He cared about people. He cared about people before he cared about what went on in the water. And that today is just my little editorial on Jace Justice, dedicated to Ralph Linky Yearwood. Right, so good evening again, and we're continuing on with the program. Up next, we are supposed to have Mr. Wendell Hing and Mrs. Shirla Lyons. Good evening, Mr. Hing. Let me bring in Miss Lyons here. She'll be here shortly. I'm not seeing Mrs. Lyons. Good evening, Mr. Lyons. Mr. Lyons, good evening. Okay, he's Mr. Lyons, good evening. All right, I don't know if it's... Good evening, Mrs. Lyons, you hear me?
But what's happening? Yeah.
Do you hear me now, Jason?
Hi, Jason.
Lyons? Shirla Lyons, you hearing me?
Yes, I am. Just getting a little technical challenge here, but I'm
No
here.
problem. Mr. Lyons, you need to adjust your camera. Right, so I have Mr. Wendell Hing. He was the former president of the Amateur Swimming Association. He was also a former president of Tsunami Swim Club, a club where Mr. Ralph Linky Yearwood was attached. And I also have Shirla Lyons, who is a learn to swim professional, and she knew Mr. Linky very, very well. Good evening, Mr. Lying, and good evening, Mrs. Lyons.
Good evening, Jason. It's my pleasure to be here to talk about Mr. Linky, and more importantly, to be on Chlorine Callaloo.
Thanks for the plug. Mr. Lying, good evening. Mr. Lying, like he's having some technical challenges. Good evening, Mr. Lying. All right. Mrs. Lyons.
Yes, sir.
Right, so I know you knew Mr. Linky in not just the competitive arena, but in the learn to swim aspect of it. I mean, and I'm sure probably in a personal capacity as well, because that was the kind of guy he was.
Actually, I met Mr. Linky 21 years ago.
Right.
I think that when I met Mr. Linky, my son Kadel was he identified Kadel. No, Kadel was learning to swim through his school. Came up with Mr. Linky when he just came down to San Fernando.
Right.
He was not interested in competitive swim club at that time.
Right.
But then I personally, my husband and I kept searching for a competitive club, and we went all over, flying fish all about everywhere, because Linky was not interested. And then at some point we came back and we had a discussion with Mr. Linky. And coming out of his learn to swim school, we decided that we'll form a club. And
Right.
that's how Linky's introduction came to competitive swimming. And that's how the relationship started. And the relationship has always been a very jovial one, must say, very lively, very kicksy. You know, the children always used to like to be around him. And he was a very committed person to learn to swim and then on to competitive. It was my privilege to see Kadeja on your on your life tonight, because I know that was one of his very strong swimmers who, as I say, went to Youth Olympics and all that. But Mr. Linky is remembered and will always be remembered by I think everybody in Trinidad. Probably Linky touched their lives and learned to swim. So yeah, so 21 years ago we met, and then we, at some point after he came into competitive swimming, I think we move on. We separated for a while in that he stopped coaching the club that we formed, St. Michael's Stingray Swim Club. And then as we go on to competitive swimming, from a professional standpoint, when I move on to Point Forte, I invited him to come and train the coaches, because I myself at that time was not professionally trained to train coaches. So he came and he was a good support to me. I would call him every time for all sorts of advice. He would guide me. He came to Point Five.
Okay, we seem to have lost Shirla a little bit. Wendell, are you hearing me? Mr. Lying? All right, so at this time, while we try to sort out the technical difficulties with this time, while we try to sort out the technical difficulties relating to our guests, we will go into our next segment called Dryland Dimensions. And this is also dedicated to Ralph Linky Yearwood.
Everyone who knew Linky knew he always found a way to incorporate everyone into swimming. Whether you knew how to swim, yes or no, he always found a way. So today's workout is going to do just that. Include everybody. So, let's go. So make sure to stay tuned for updates on Dryland Dimension Island, and make sure to follow me on Instagram as we post them. So until tomorrow, stay home. Stay safe.
Okay, good evening again. Mrs. Lyons? Hi, Mrs. Lyons. Hi, good evening, Mrs. Lyons. Mr. Lying?
I'm hearing you now, Jason.
Good, right. So, Mr. Lying, because we were talking to you before, can you tell us about your relationship with Mr. Ralph Linky Yearwood? I know he worked alongside you in Tsunami Swim Club and in different dispensations. Tell us about the relationship and about Linky.
I met Uncle Linky in 2003, actually, at the said St. Michael's pool. At that time, he had a club called Silver Fins, which basically had a lot of top swimmers, including one that you would have interviewed earlier on. And over the years, so his passion for the sport is second to none. I mean, I could clearly say that he was one of the most disrespected persons I know in swimming, but he didn't care because his love for the youth and for the drive and all that. People would not even remember Linky was the head coach of the national open water team, the first open water team to represent Trinidad and Tobago in Welland, Canada, would have been 2007 or 8. He was the head coach of that team. And thereafter, he became the head coach of Tsunami. And he had a lot of influence on the club. Kristen Julian, Osesi Riley, Christopher Green, Abraham Sheffelden, Amaria Pilgrim, all of these young ones who would have gone on to excel at swimming, they all were under Uncle Linky. And I don't know how we used to do it, but he would be up at 4 o'clock in the morning and be at the pool, and he would leave the pool at 9 o'clock in the night to catch the bus to go to Port of Spain. I mean, his effort and his drive for this sport, I think he needs an award. Trust me.
So what kind of awards? In what way should we honor? What is the best way you think that we should honor Ralph Linky Yearwood?
There are a number of ways, but we need to even have a meet named after Linky. We need to apply for a posthumous national award for Uncle Linky. Ralph actually started off teaching lawn tennis in Diego Martin way before they even had a pool, and and that is to tell you the commitment he had for youth. I guess there are various um, ways we can, but we could start small and have a trophy, an award named after him within ASAT. And even if we need to apply for a national award, because we would have had coaches getting national awards over the years, and I think Ralph deserves this.
Shirla, Lyons, you're back with us?
Oh
You hearing
yes,
us?
I'm just having some technical challenges. Had to change my location.
No problem. What I asked Wendell just now is what's the best way that we will be able to, what's the best way we should honor Mr. Ralph Linky Yearwood?
I was thinking about that yesterday, and I think definitely we have to have our national Learn to Swim program named after Linky. That's the best I can say because his heart and soul was so sincere, and I think the mere fact that we didn't listen to him many times, and
Sure, right.
we didn't listen to him many times, we didn't give him the opportunity. I think that his soul and heart was so connected to this national drive. We have to have definitely our national Learn program named after Linky. And definitely also we have to have our Learn to Swim Coaches Association, some sort of connectivity to Linky. Because that was one of his dreams, one of his desires. I feel so sad that I didn't that Wendell and myself did not go visit him because he kept asking me to come and visit him. He had so many things he wanted to hand over to me and share with me. I definitely, those are the two things I feel could only satisfy me to name after Linky. Some
All right.
sort
So,
of connection.
so I know Mr. Lyon talked about a national award. I know you spoke about the Learn to Swim program, naming it after him. So just unfortunately, with all the technical whatever, with you all, Wendell, well, sure, let's go on again. Wendell, do you have any parting words for Trinidad and Tobago Mr. Yearwood?
I want us to always remember that man on deck walking with his head at a slight angle. Technique was his passion, and I think that is what made his swim so good. And unlike unlike most, he was one of the most patient coaches you could have find, and we really and truly would miss him. We condolences to the family because of the COVID. We couldn't attend his funeral, but we know in our hearts that Ralph Linky Yearwood was one of the best, if not the best person with respect to learning to swim in Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, so we'd like to thank Mr. Wendell Hing and Mrs. Shirla Lyons for saying a few words on their behalf to recognize Mr. Ralph Linky Yearwood. Thank you, Wendell.
Okay, Jason, cool.
Okay, so we're getting ready for our next segment. So we have on screen Mr. Ronald Yearwood. Good evening, Mr. Yearwood.
Good evening.
So this is Linky's baby brother. To me, yesterday he's the baby.
You all hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, good.
Yes, so you told me yesterday you're Linky's baby brother.
Yes, I'm the youngest boy.
Youngest of how many?
There was 12 boys.
Wow.
12 boys and I'm the youngest.
Okay. So tell us how it was growing up with Ralph Linky Yearwood.
Well, my memory of Linky is being dragged over every swimming pool in Trinidad and Tobago as a young boy at the back of a motorcycle. I think I've been to every swimming pool in Trinidad and Tobago, spending hours there, just being with my big brother, Linky. I learned to swim even though I didn't like the pool. I grew up not liking a swimming pool because I spent so many hours in a swimming pool with him. He was always a big brother who took the place of my father. My father was around, but I think everything I learned to do was from my big brother. Linky he was funny. One thing I think I would learn from him is that when life laughs at you, you laugh first. Okay,
right.
Always making fun of difficult situations in his life. It was fun having him as a big brother, learning tricks, learning jokes, everything. Yeah. So my memory of him is being dragged all over Trinidad to every possible swimming pool in Diego Martin and Couva and everywhere that other swimming pool. I think I was there.
But for you, it probably was hard for you. He dragged you all over the place.
Fun though. Was fun.
but what it was, in your opinion, what it was about Linky and swimming?
I don't know. It's like my memory, okay, of ever since I could remember myself, I think from the age of 5 or 6, I don't know. Right? It was always Linky by a swimming pool, Shaka Cabana, Shagaramas, Diego Martin is everywhere. It was always around a swimming pool, and his dedication of teaching people to swim, even life saving and everything. So I don't know what it was, but it was really a deep passion and a dedication. Yeah.
Did he used to come home and talk swimming with you and you swim him? Well,
Linky had a very special talent. Okay, and that talent was sleep. Okay. Right, so he could walk. We lived way up in La Hoquette, and I remember sometimes coming from swimming late in the night, and we would walk that 1.5-mile trip, and I think many times he would say he didn't know how he reach home. He would sleep even walking up that on that road, so he worked very hard. But he got his sleep in very interesting ways.
Very interesting ways. Did you all used to fight?
Well, he was much bigger than I was, So he was funny, but he had very big hands, and few times I received some good slaps from him. I remember that. But he was a brother you couldn't get angry with. He was a brother. It doesn't matter what it was. He was a brother that you always had a soft heart for Linky.
You had a soft heart for him even when he was at his worst.
Yeah, because he lost his temper quickly, but he changed very quickly. I experienced some of his bursts of quick anger. But but also he came around very quick to show love, demonstrate love and care and concern for us and stuff. So he was always a brother that was very, very easy to like. Yeah.
So you have some brothers you don't like?
You want to get me in trouble now?
But how has it been? You know, this was a difficult time, and I mean, everybody didn't get to come together as they should. But how has it been for you and you all in general?
Well, it has been hard in a certain way. But the thing about it, I normally don't live in Trinidad, so I am stuck here because of COVID. So it's whenever I come back to Trinidad sometime every couple of years, I think it's been this way for like last 30 years. It's on rare occasions, whenever I'm back in Trinidad that I'm not always see Linky. So, but he was going downhill, he suffered quite a bit. And it's sad, but to a certain degree, it's like he's resting now,
Let me ask you this question. What best can, not necessarily the swimming community, but what can we as people do to ensure Linky's memory lives on?
You put me on a spot here, boy.
That's the idea.
I think like what you're doing now, sometimes we only miss the water when the well run dry, and so I think he would live down. I'm meeting people all over the place, that I didn't even know. Okay, and they keep saying, Linky's the one who teach me to swim. Condolences, Linky. So I think what the former president shared, I think would be good to really do something like that, a meet in his honor or something like that. I think it would be really good. Something in his honor would be really good. I don't know what.
All right. So on behalf of all of us, first of all, I mean, I was looking for your other brother, but I didn't see him log in as yet. That's Roderick.
Yeah.
But on behalf of all of us, I mean, I would like to extend our condolences to you and the family. For us, Linky has been a blessing to the swimming community, and I'm sure he was from what you say, he was a blessing to you all as well, minus the few hard slap I get, but I'm sure that they did good.
No, you did.
And I mean, I really thank you for your time, and I mean, I wish you all the best going forward and God's strength and blessings in this time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Mr. Ronald Yearwood. We'll be right back. Right, so good evening again, and now we have Mr. Leslie Nunes. Good evening, Leslie. Good evening, Leslie. How are you?
Good evening.
See you from your way onto the program.
Thank you.
So tell us, Leslie, how did you meet Linky?
Well, I joined the YMCA in 1969.
Right.
And then we started the Learn to Swim program down at the YMCA, what we call the Benbow Pool on Rice Road.
Right.
And he joined the program in late 71, going at 72, just before the Olympics. And we were under the training of Mr. James Jim Lundin from Canada, the Canadian YMCA. At that time, we had quite a few good learn to swim coaches. And we taught together, we learned together and taught together at the YMCA. And then I went away in 79 and I came back in 85, 84, 85. And Linky had opened his own swim school, the Linky Swim School, School of Swimming.
Right.
And he encouraged me to open my own. And subsequently, I went and opened my own school, the Leslie's Swim School. And then we got together and we started talking about the development of Learn to Swim in Trinidad and Tobago. Joy Kaufman helped us, and Jim Lundin helped us, and Shaki, who is deceased now, Benny opened his own swim school, and Keith Linky, Pee-wee's LaRoche, he opened his own swim school. So we had 4 Learn to Swim schools in Trinidad at that time.
Right.
And then Linky started working Grandy, and he developed a Learn to Swim program up there. But he had his own school in Port of Spain too. So then we started having little Learn to Swim swim meets. We held it at Flying Fish. At that time, Mr. Nualo were running Flying Fish at that time. And we always talked about having a Learn to Swim schools association, coaches association, and to develop a national Learn to Swim program. Benny's, Linky's, LaRoche, and myself, and I. And we always talked about the development of Learn to Swim and where swimming will go, having these swimmers with good foundations. Well, we continued. And in those swim meets, the biggest head count we had at one time was 535 swimmers at Flying Fish, which was fairly big. We approached the National Swimming Association, which wasn't well as at that time, for the joining of the association. We were rejected, but we continued swimming. We continued. We continued until we started branching off our own. Linky went off to competitive. I went off into my Learn to Swim. Then I did some work with the tourist board. And then we got into life saving also. We started teaching life saving. And then we started doing programs with BWI for the Learn to Swim and the developer swimmers, young ladies who wanted to be flight attendants.
Right.
And we linked together on all the programs we were doing. He also was very encouraging because he encouraged me when they had aqualads and lasses swimming up at the mount in 2001. And he encouraged me because the University of Matanza was having a development program in the methodology of training and development of athletes. Mr. Roberts was president then, and he encouraged me to sign up for the program through ASA down here. I did, and I went to Cuba. Coming back, we were supposed to continue the program. And then Linky encouraged the, what you call them, the Swimming Association, ASA, to come down here and do programs of development swimming in Trinidad and Tobago. We did a couple at the YMCA. We did programs up at Cascadia Hotel. And then we went on to do programs in Sport Med with CONCACAF at the Center of Excellence. So he was always involved in the other areas, not just swimming as such, but the care of the body in the sport, injuries, and what you can do in the rehab programs and the recovery programs. Well, it continued right through into the 90s, and we continued teaching swimming and doing courses. And then he got ill. We talked over the phone as much as we can, and we spoke about our personal development and where swimming is going. And he had some hiccups in dealing with the association. dealing with certain people in certain clubs. But that never really kept him back or kept us back in what we were doing because we always shared. We always shared information. And that is what he wanted to do because he said once coaches get together, as they do in outside, and present their papers and their knowledge in the development of a sport and seeing that we are swimming, sharing that knowledge, we have been one of the heavyweights both in Latin and South America and the Caribbean. And that is what he wanted us to develop swimming from the grassroots, from the kindergarten right up to Olympics. And that was his dream, that was his life. And what we could do for Linky is if we could really get a national learn to swim program with development phases in it, so that children will not just learn to swim, but enjoy swimming and enjoy growing up into great athletes and human beings. Yeah.
Nazir, like I don't have to ask you any more questions. you, you have been very comprehensive in your description of giving us a chronological thing of Ralph Linky Yearwood. Because things, I mean, this probably is debating a little bit, but because in the past, you call some, you talk about Sharky and whoever else. And
Benny's and La
yes,
Roche, Pee-wee.
Pee-wee, Benny, all these people. And you find like now, I'm not sure if people have the same connection that they had with coaches.
No,
What
they don't do because
what is that era, your era with Linky, and compared to now? What's the difference?
well, one, everybody is separated, and because of the different levels, and coaching has gone gone beyond levels. And there's, I am a this coach and I am a that coach, and I am a that coach. And as a matter of fact, not adding to what Linky did too, he got us into a synchronized swimming program right here in Trinidad. We started a synchronized program. A couple of coaches came down, and the program started off very well. We had one or two girls who was doing quite well, but that also faded away because those sports call for both gymnastics and ballet and strength training and quite a lot of swimming. And you have to really love it and grow in it. Yes. Any case, what I'm saying is that pride in that coaches feel that everybody figure that they are the cat's whiskers and that they know everything and everybody know everything. But I would like to say this. Linky spoke to us and we shared, and when he learned from other coaches, he was grateful. He was happy in sharing and giving that knowledge that he knows and listen to what other people knows and going and applying it. And then we would get feedback from each other and give feedback on how it worked. And this is what we want. Everybody does know everything. And sometimes you might see a swimmer doing something in the pool that if he changes his hand movement or his leg movement or his body position, might make what you call 100% difference in his smoothness and his speed. But some people don't like it to talk to swimmers. Some coaches don't like their swimmers swim with other coaches. But hello, when you go to school and do lessons with other teachers from other schools, so why not? This is sharing knowledge. This isn't about you and me. But Linky said, this is about the whole person and where we are taking them. And he always used the word we, not I. Not I. It's we. Because we are in it together, as the man say.
So, what are the things you think we should take away with Link? But this is for the coaches you're talking to. The coaches need to come together and work together for the development of the entire sport. Basically.
As I said, you want to have a national program, if you want to call it Linky's learned to swim because we all have the knowledge now from way back then, and the wheel has never been reinvented. They just put a set of fancy chrome on it to make it look good. But in any case, what we are saying is that we could use and take some of his philosophy and continue applying it for the continuation and development of what he have always encouraged: swimming. Learn to swim, the development of swimming into whatever area the
And
children wants to go.
I mean, you spoke a lot about Linky as a coach and his progression through swimming.
Mm.
I mean, I mean, coaches. Then you had a bond where it was a friendship.
Well, as a friend, we lie. We didn't used to drink beers like me. In fact, none of the coaches used to drink. But we lime, and we had quite a good time. We met his wife Carol. She used to come down by the pool, including Benson Douglas. He met his wife by the pool. So a lot of coaches met their wives by pools. And we limed, we went out, and he got married, and he had 2 sons, and they did well too.
Yeah.
They did very, very well.
Ryan.
Right, Ryan was an excellent flyer, and
Right.
Rory was a little calmer, but he did a quite good freestyle too. And Rory got married, and he went away. Ryan, and then Rory got married, and we limed, and we enjoyed family. We talked, we limed, we shared, and we just had a great time as friends, and companions in the sport. We all got married and have children, and we enjoy the best of the life.
Enjoy the best of your life. So you would say you would have lived this life to the fullest in your
Yes, it's just that I mean, nature, we don't control what happens to us most of the time. So we just have to pray and hope and try to keep and maintain the machine for as long as we can. He exercised a bit and he ate properly. He was a vegetarian and he never used to smoke or drink. But yet, his body deteriorated, which was kind of strange, because he was healthy. He could have swum. We used to swim down Carnage from the Alco to Williams Bay on a Sunday morning with somebody in the Masters, Louis Martin, Kiddy here, Bob, um, 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 La Roche, all those guys. We swam together. So just that, it's, how should I say? He left. Another matter of fact, he went to school with one of my brothers, Wayne. All right,
right.
and they were in class together. So he used to come home by us in Pretty Valley there. So we know each other. And then his wife Carol was from Diego Martin. So everything was in that close area. So everybody knew each other, lined with each other, talked to each other.
All right. And Leslie, I mean, you have been in swimming yourself how long?
Since 1969, 70.
So that's 30 plenty.
Yeah, I know that.
Actually,
Yeah, I know that.
but you are still doing it. And I mean, I know will bounce up at swim meets every so often.
Yeah.
Yeah. You too. What is it about? I mean, some people from the older guard, not the older guard, not so old guard. Let me say it like that. Have this connection with swimming. Why do you love it so much?
Well, I want to tell you something. We enjoyed it because we played water polo. There are Tiger Sharks. There are quite a swim clubs who played at Blue Dolphins at that time. The Ogaros, the Louis Martins, the Reze Guard, and all these fair people. All of us, we played water polo. We played water polo. at the after, and we played. And even though we've roughed up each other in the water, when we left, we walked out, talk, line with each other, and we stayed loving it. We just enjoyed it. This is not about me beating you, I beating you, and everything else. We watched at each other and we helped each other along the way, So we always shared. And once you see you sharing something, people would love you for it. They would love you for it. Once you're sharing something, you know.
So once you share something, people will love you for it.
Yeah, people appreciate you. People
Leslie,
appreciate you.
you are getting the final word on this program. How should we honor Linky? What you want Trinidad and Tobago to do? Anything, Leslie, the floor is yours.
All right. One, we could start preparing a program that we could all use with Linky's initials on it. That's one. Two, we could have some memorial meets. Start off with the Learn to Swim, maybe one of your programs, maybe one of the school programs, swim meets, all right, in honoring him, all right. And from there, we could go on even using Linky Yearwood's or Linky Swimming School certification. Just like how they have YMCA all over the world, just have you recognize. We can recognize his effort, put it down on paper, patent it, and let it go out to all pools and encourage all schools to Trinidad and Tobago to develop and use Linky's program. It will be an honor to co-sign on that and to support it.
All right, Leslie, we will be in touch. I like the ideas that you come up with. It was indeed a pleasure to have you on, and I would like to thank you so much. Actually, before you go, hold on. I don't know where Mr. Telfer was all the time, but I've seen Mr. Telfer. It says Stephen Telfer. When last you saw Stephen Telfer?
Well, I saw him, a couple of months ago, just before he resigned from the Grande pool. So, and he's one of the guys who always kept in touch also. He is one of those coaches who not only just kept in touch, but he developed swimming, both learned to swim in a special area of swimming and went on to Special Olympics. He is one of those coaches. And I would like to say this. Whilst we would like to honor people, and I was talking to Andrea about this, and we do this all the time. And Linky has gone to rest. And whilst he has gone to rest, Linky cannot hear nor see what we are doing now. Let us make the effort to honor and give thanks to those who are alive as they age for the job that they have done, and some of them continue to do. Let us honor people whilst they are alive. They would appreciate it even more.
Mr. Telfer, can you hear me? Okay, I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you. You have to check your microphone.
Yeah, you hear me now?
Right, we're hearing you now. Mr. Telfer.
Right.
We over the time that we were supposed to go, but this is for Linky, so we can still talk, man.
Yeah.
Leslie,
yes.
You want to tell Stephen anything while you're seeing him here?
Well, Stephen boy, I mean, a little while I haven't seen you, and
Yes, boy.
you're not coming up this way again. So I suppose I have to come down that. I have to come down that way. But in any case, they opening up the Gibea Gardens just now, so we go meet St. James or somewhere where we could sit
Yeah,
down
right.
and have one or two and share what is going to go on from here on, because the world has
For
changed.
sure.
The world has changed, and we have to make fast adaptations to what we're going to do with what we love, and that is swimming.
Yeah, boy, yes, for sure. Good seeing you, Leslie. We haven't connected enough in nearly a year, boy.
Yeah. The last time I saw you is when you're throwing the towel and when you resigned. That is it.
Yeah, at least 6 months ago, yes. But
Leslie,
I'm here.
Leslie, I'll talk to Stephen now, but Leslie, I'd like to thank you for coming onto the live. I know we had some challenges, but that's fine.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. If anybody in here,
well,
thank you.
I want to say this and thank Andrea for telling me on a quick notice how far am I from her, and I have a vehicle, thank God, and she made the effort, and I responded to it, and thank God for Andrea for bringing me home by her. Don't worry, I'm gonna take her away from you.
Sir, that is the wrong program. Wrong program.
Very case. You know
Uncle
me.
Leslie.
But in any case, what I'm saying, I want to thank Andrea for the effort she has made and to make this come true. Okay? So thank you for inviting me and whatever it is that I have done that we can use in the future.
Thank you. And the Andrea is talking about is Andrea. She's the former secretary of the association. She helped us out here today to make sure Leslie was connected. Thank you, Leslie.
Okay then. Have a good night. Okay.
Mr. Telfer, we only have a few minutes. I'm giving you the floor.
Yes, I was listening all the time.
I'm giving you the floor. What do you want to tell us about Linky?
Well, I first met Linky in 1985. This is when the Trinidad and Tobago Life Saving Society, which I was a part of, had a pool competition. We used to have pool competitions in those days, life saving pool competitions. And his school, which he had just started, participated in it and did very well, actually. And I was introduced to him then. We spoke and we stayed friends ever since. Even when I went to first work at La Jolla, when La Jolla had first opened in January 1989, I was the first swimming instructor, first swimming supervisor there.
Right.
And we were having some teething problems with the pumps and so on. And every so often the pool would be going green and so on. And I would call Linky and ask for his advice, and he would come up to La Jolla and try to help out.
Right.
He even got Joey Kaufman at the time to come and help out with it also. And between Linky and Joey is how we actually got those pumps and that pool to work in some good order. But the first few months was really rough when we first opened, because it was Eastern Credit Union who started up this pool, but they really didn't know anything about running a pool. And I myself didn't really know much about pool maintenance. I knew about teaching and so on, but not the pool maintenance part. So I was happy to have, the advice and knowledge of Linky and then Joey at the time. And then even later that year, when the program had started really going off and we started to get some preschools and so on, it was only myself and two other male instructors there at the time. And I thought we needed to get a female instructor working with us. And I called Linky and I said, Linky, could you recommend a female instructor? And right off the bat, he said, yes, I have a young lady for you. Her name is Monica Archibald. And he gave me a number and so on, and I called, and she came in for an interview. she worked with us, and I eventually married that young lady. And now she's on the Telfer.
So
So,
you was talking about just now?
yes. So as Leslie was saying, a lot of we coaches and instructors have met and married women, and from working at the pools, but even so, over the years I've always been able to call Linky and talk to him, or if I ever needed advice, or or something that he could help with, and actually when I left La Jolla in January of '96, I went and worked with Linky at Linky School of Swimming in Shopsamava.
Right.
And I worked there until about October of that year. And but watching Linky work, um, on a weekend, especially with these little children, he was really fantastic with especially with toddlers and so on. He was very patient, a very patient man, and don't care how these children bawling and screaming and so on, he would get them to smile, laugh, and enjoy the water. And and he would know, okay, they had enough, even if it's a 15-minute class or 10-minute class, that is all they could do. Well, he will let them just do that for that amount of time, and next week they may do 5 minutes more and another 5 minutes more, and so on until they get up to maybe a full half hour, 45 minutes. But
Actually, one thing, his wife Carol, she mentioned to me that somebody had said Linky could teach a rock to swim.
yeah. He had that patience and guile about him to get people to do things that they don't really want to do. He would have faith in you when you don't have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
And I must say that I took a lot of his teaching. I copied a lot of it. I copied it from a lot of people. And that's how you become an instructor. You don't say that you know everything and that is it. But I have copied from him, from Anstem, from people like Keith, yeah,
All right. So honestly, we have gone like way over time, but
yeah.
first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time out and coming on the live. Final question:
I was happy to do it.
what should we do to honor Linky and his memory?
Well, I would agree with some of what Wendell and Shirla and even what Leslie was saying, that we need to keep his memory alive, and his forte was really learn to swim. And if we could have some kind of, as Wendell or Shirla was saying, either a swim meet in his name, or some kind of trophy in his name, somewhere that he would be remembered, and for people coming up would see and remember his name, because Linky has really done a tremendous amount of work for swimming in this country, and he should be recognized fit, and his name should live on.
Right, Mr. Telfer, I'd like to thank you for coming out again. Thank you, and Mr. Telfer works a lot with Special Olympics, so I want to thank you for investing your time and energy into that as well, and for your contribution that you have made to the development of swimming in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and If Carol and they are still on the line, I would like to give my personal condolences, my heartfelt condolences from me, Monique, my entire family who knew Linky and loved him as a really good friend. And may his good soul rest in peace. Thanks for this initiative, Jason.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Right. All right, so we went way over time, but thank you very much for tuning in. We will, of course, post the broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube, and you will see different snippets. Next week, we have, I wouldn't say yet, but check out the Facebook page tomorrow. We have a very special flashback freestyles next week. But today, this was all about Ralph Linky Yearwood. We like to express our condolences to the family. Thank you all for making this possible. Thank you to his wife, Carol, who we were back and forth trying to contact different people. And I know it was a difficult time, but she really lent her support to this program. Thank you all, and see you next week. Tune into the Facebook page tomorrow. We have a big guest next week. Thank you very much.